So thank you, Wanderlei. This was an absolutely fascinating lecture, and in a way it's interesting what you claim is that one can, in a way, replace chemistry by physics again, in order to, and it has clearly an impact, because if we can save food which we transport, for example, or we can treat food in a better way, we can also save land, actually, which we need for other purposes. So it has a climate impact, clearly. So there is only time for 2 questions, and then we have to move to the coffee break. But as I said before, Martin Rees will not be on the next session, so we save a little bit of time. So 2 questions. Who would like to ask? So Steve here, you're first.
Well, it's a comment. Actually, it's not a competition between chemistry, physics, or biology. It was mentioned before, the so-called BT bananas that save banana crops. The same technology is in eggplant, cotton, potatoes, and it is using a gene from celery, which is a natural insecticide, and putting it into these food crops so you don't have to use insecticides. And in third world countries, it's taking over. The farmers love it. They don't poison themselves. It's much cheaper for them. And so you have that's one thing that's good. The other thing is it turns out when people are making very, very tiny amounts of silver coatings in plastic. We talked about food spoilage that you cook and throw away. But actually a lot of food spoils when it's being delivered from the farm to distribution centers, and putting this in very inexpensive, very cheap silver-coated wrapping actually retards the growth and retards spoilage for several days without refrigeration, which you will not have in developing countries. So another very novel way. Yes.
Oh, Dr. Loreto, please.
I actually have a comment and also a question. So the comment is that, of course, we all agree that conservation, post-harvest conservation of food is really a problem. We have, by the way, same problem in Europe with mycotoxins and things like that. We do functional packaging, smart packaging, like the one that you have mentioned. So I think we are aiming at the same solution for the same problem. In the field, contamination of agricultural production before harvesting, that depends a lot on the legislation. In Europe, we have a legislation that is so restrictful that we actually cannot use about any pesticide. So it's really, I would be really surprised to find high level of pesticides in European food, because really this is impossible. It's restricted by legislation. So it's a problem, but this is what has brought us to integrated pest management. And if we could use novel plant breeding, novel technologies, let's say, such as genome editing and so on, probably we could do even better in this respect. The question is about ozone. So many plants are sensitive to ozone. So I am surprised that you are able to kill microorganisms when you spray ozone on plants and you don't damage plants.
Okay, well, I mean, we're not throwing a ton of ozone in each plantation, right? And the nice thing is, if you have good ways of dissolving ozone in water, which there are, and this is a physical way of doing that in co-flow, then you need ppms of ozone, and this is very superficial. We treated some of the plants I show, I don't know how to say in English, this nice plant, well, anyway. Apples, or even apples, we see no change. There is no change, it's secured, and you only act on the surface. And it's small enough to oxidize, to prevent, because when you put fruits in a box, or the meat, whatever are the microorganisms that are there, those are the ones that are going to proliferate when they find conditions. So if you can prevent that, you have a better transport. You know, I think in coffee plantation, they are very happy. We're doing an example in the lettuce and green vegetables stuff, because they have to put things, right? And it's going very well. And it turns in oxygen. It can't survive. Ozone cannot survive very long.